a swing and a fly ball to left field. Back goes Arozarena. She's gone!
This is Tall Can Audio.
The Toronto Blue Jays are going to the World Series. They're going. They are going to the World Series. Go ahead, say it for yourself. It's fun. It'll make you feel good. Don't worry, there's either nobody around, in which case there's nothing to be embarrassed about, or the people around you should want to hear it. Go ahead, in your office, at your gym, whatever you're doing right now, just say it out loud. The Toronto Blue Jays are going to the World Series. People will smile at you. And if they don't, these aren't the type of people you want to be around anyway. It is Matt Robinson with you in the TCA studio in an oh-so-beautiful Bytown, Canada today. Look, I am about as happy as I've ever been as a sports fan. And it seemed only appropriate after last Friday night's Rage Pod to come in and do something else when things are going well. It was Chris who asked me, listener Chris on Twitter at Tall Can Audio, give us a follow there, if there would be a show. And I said that there was, but it was going to have to wait. But he correctly pointed out that we so rarely, as Toronto sports fans, get nice things to celebrate, that we should take advantage of these opportunities. And that's true. That's the right perspective to have. But it is unusual to me. The Rage Pod, the Sadness Pod, those are all things I've always got in my back pocket. I know I can do that. I've got that down pat. We've run them a few times. This might be, in the history of TCA, the first Joy Pod. And look, I've been having this conversation with a couple different people. This might be the best moment in my entire sports fandom, and we're going to dig into that here a little bit. But I didn't want to do it after the game on Monday night, after Game 7, for all the same reasons that I explained last Friday night about why even the Rage Pods have become a little less often. It's late, and I'm old and tired. And yet, it was late, and I am old, and just in a general sense, always tired. But it wasn't a lack of energy on Monday night. It's funny, when you haven't just had your soul crushed again, how you don't feel like, I just want to get in bed. But what it was just, I didn't want to leave the TV. So often, when my teams lose, and they do, as soon as it's done, click TV off. I've heard the press conferences, that explain, just wasn't our year, and whatever, I don't care. I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch the other team celebrate. I don't want to be online, interacting with either fellow fans of my own team who are perhaps going a little over the top on Twitter, which happens sometimes. I don't want to interact with the fans of the team that just crushed me. So you just shut it off literally as soon as the final buzzer goes and go to bed, usually. Last night, I couldn't turn it off. I didn't want to go to bed. I wanted to watch, like so many people. That stadium stayed full. No one wanted to leave. Nobody wanted to end that moment. So you're watching the guys celebrate. You're seeing the interviews that Hazel's doing. Then they're into the clubhouse. This isn't a day for negativity. I'm starting to think the clubhouse stuff is over the top in the TV coverage. The guys can do whatever they want. I know some people think it's silly that they celebrate as often as they do in baseball. Baseball's hard. It's a long season. If they want to go off every time you clinch a playoff spot, clinch a division, win another series, who the hell am I to tell them not to? But I kind of think once they leave the field, the clubhouse is just for the players. I don't know that the media needs to be in there for that part, at least not in the way that they are. Like if there's a camera and maybe one interviewer or something, but guys are constantly getting pulled aside and away from their buddies, and now maybe they've had a couple, and I kind of think that moment should just be for them. But that's not what this is supposed to be about. They're in there anyway. It's going to be on TV, so I did watch it. Probably for a good hour after it ended, maybe a little longer than that. It was so much fun. The texts I was getting, the tweets you guys were all sending out, the amount of fun that this was. Because it didn't always look like it was going to be. The offense got off to a slow start. Bieber really didn't have his best stuff. And then they tack on another run, make it 3-1. You're like, it's looking bleak. But it didn't get away from them. They didn't let it slip so far away that they couldn't get back to where they needed to be. And they got there. George did it, and we'll talk more about that here as we go, too. So I didn't want to leave the TV to come in here and do this show. And this is how good I feel. I'm up in the morning. I hate doing pods in the morning. I'm not a morning person. I'm grumpy in the mornings at the best of times. And it's not a great time for a beer. I don't like doing shows without a beer. But I don't want to be that guy either who's getting up at 9:30 and cracking a pint to go do the show. That starts a slippery slope that has probably got a name like dependency or things like that. So no beer today. It's just vibes. We're cruising on vibes. To circle back to the idea of where this ranks, and this isn't even a championship, at least not yet. Give it a week. Might be. But just getting here. Beating the Yankees. Beating the Mariners, who we had some demons with from a couple of years ago. It's been such a ride. This whole season has been so unexpectedly fun. And so I'm trying last night, as I'm laying in bed finally when I get there, still vibrating, no chance of sleeping, just, again, cruising on those vibes. And then this morning, I'm kicking it around with people. Where does this rank in terms of my all-time favorite moments as a sports fan? And as far as a professional sports, like franchise, a club team that you're a fan of, this might be it. There's some Olympic stuff in there that might be on this level. And it's hard because you try not to succumb to recency bias. We're still in the glow of this thing, of the unexpectedly fun season, of winning the division, of winning a couple of playoff rounds, in doing it in dramatic fashion. It all feels great. Like this is the best thing ever. And it might be. But it is possible that this is just about the recency bias. The only thing on the club sports level, the professional sports level, that might come close is the actual night the Raptors won the title. But I'm not a big basketball guy. I'm not a big Raptors guy. I was a bandwagon guy. I'm a Toronto sports fan. I was really happy they did it. But that was almost as much as anything else, happiness for my friends who are huge Raptors fans. Happiness for a lot of crossover people that I know, or mutual friends, or even friends of my own who are huge Raptors fans and had been a joke of a franchise for a while. Had been through the Vince stuff, had watched Chris Bosh leave, had been through the LeBron over and over and over. To see them finally get that done, I enjoyed it as a sports fan. Don't get me wrong. But that felt like I jumped onto this moving train, and this was a fun ride. But when it starts again in, October or November next year, I probably won't be sitting here invested every night. But it was so much fun to see the country react. The city of Toronto react. The parade they had was incredible. We saw across the country the other Jurassic Parks that were popping up in different public spaces around Canada. That was awesome. And just to know how much fun my friends who are much more invested Raptors fans had with that. So it's a different type of feeling. It's a different type of fun than what today is. I mentioned the Olympics. I think of the two men's Olympic relay teams that won gold, one in 1996 and one just last summer in 2024. The one in 2024, I think, and again, I'm not a track expert, and that, again, the Olympics makes these a little bit different because a lot of what you're watching, you're not... Look, if I'm an expert in any sport, I'd be surprised. But I'm pretty knowledgeable about my baseball and my hockey and my football, right? I'm not when it comes to track. But I knew, at least in 2024, that Canadian men's team, that was an upset. They weren't supposed to win gold that year. And this is the Olympics. It is the 4x100. It is one of the crown jewels of the Olympic Games, and Canada won. We did it. Our guys did it. That was a moment, much like 96, which I don't think was as much of an upset. It was hardly a slam dunk. It never is. But when you go to the Olympics and it's that event, right? Like the 100-meter dash, the 200-meter, and the 4x1 in track. Like at the Olympics, those are your main event, crown jewel things. And when everyone in the world's got fast guys, right? Like this isn't hockey where only 8 or 10 countries really play at a high level, maybe not even that many. This is something everybody does. Everyone sends their fastest guy to the Olympic Games, and we won. That had a little bit of this feeling to it. I think of very similarly when Penny Alexiak and now Summer McIntosh are dominating in, again, a global sport, right? Penny had her moment. Now it's Summer McIntosh's moment. Those gave me that feeling a little bit. Standing there watching how proud these people were and the tears running down their families' faces and again, wearing the maple leaf. That had some of this. When the Canadian women won the it was still called the 2020 Olympics, but it was in 2021, the gold medal. Again, a worldwide sport, and Canada finishes number one. That had some of that. And then I would say 2010, men's Olympic hockey team, 2014, women's Olympic hockey teams. Just the way they won, the journey that it took you on. Like both of those teams had been through some things. If you remember, the women's team in 2014 had to tie it late just to stay alive. There had been a shot from the Americans' own zone all the way down to Canada's empty net that hit the post like an inch the other way. The game's over. We're not having that gold medal. To that puck not going in, coming down, tying it up, Marie-Philippe Poulin doing what she does. Sidney Crosby in 2010. That men's team, we had a shootout with Switzerland in the round robin. Lost to the Americans in the round robin. Only beat Slovakia by a goal in the semifinals. It was a rocky road. And at the end of the day, in overtime, again, dramatic fashion, the Americans tied that one late, kind of going the other way compared to what would happen 4 years later for the women that I referenced there. That's, as I sit here right now, that's as good as it gets. And it makes me think when I look at this list, like the Olympics are just different. It's just a different level. They're so rare in terms of how often they happen. There's the national pride thing that ties into it. But at a club sports level, I mean, the elephant in the room is that I haven't even mentioned the Leafs. I had fun. Like, I've had really fun runs with the Leafs in 99 and 02. I don't really remember all that much about 93 and 94's conference final runs, other than everyone having Felix Potvin fever, Doug Gilmour fever. In 99, the Leafs weren't really supposed to get to the conference final. Got there, ran out of gas. It was what it was. 02 was a better team. Again, got there. For whatever reason, And I think it's because, and maybe there is a comparison here, depending on how bleak you want to be and how much you want to look forward on the Blue Jays right now. In 2002, had the Leafs beaten Carolina, which they should have, in the conference final, they were going to get buried by the Red Wings in the next round. That Detroit team that tore Carolina limb from limb in the Cup final was going to do the same to the Leafs. There was just levels, right? And Detroit was on a different level from the Leafs that year. So maybe I still would have had that feeling from getting there, because I know some of you are already going, Dodgers might be on a whole other level. Maybe. It's a hell of a roster. But any team in baseball can lose 4 out of 7, and the Jays are no slouches. And the Jays have home field advantage, which means they're at least credibly here. Had a better record than the Dodgers did. Not by a lot, but enough. But the Leafs, Austin Matthews 4-goal game, that was fun. It was unique. And I'm not downplaying it. It was incredible to watch, like for an 18-year-old rookie coming into the league. But it was night 1 of the regular season, and you didn't even win the game. So while it's a fun memory, and I was glad I was there, I watched that one at an Ottawa bar here with my family. Just we happened to be getting together that night, and it's a fun memory. But it was more about the night than it meaning something, or it did sort of signify the turning of the page from the brutal decade that had just come for the Leafs to, okay, I think things are going to be okay. We'll be able to debate for a long time how okay it got, but it certainly got better than it had been. But the Leafs haven't given you much of moments like what the Jays just did. I was just talking to our buddy Kevin Mickey there from Sportsnet down in Toronto. And I said, I have to... A lot of us, I'm sure, were feeling as that game was going along on Monday night, we're feeling this kind of, and they just don't quite look like they have it tonight. And you're seeing a lot of people, Toronto sports fans can't have nice things. And I have started to do my best to peel that away and say, there's the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then there's the rest of Toronto sports. Because TFC's won a title. I'm not a soccer guy, but they've got a championship in the last decade, whatever it's been. Not so great recently, but they have given their fans something. The Raptors have a championship. The Argos, a couple of Grey Cups. And now the Blue Jays have a shot at a World Series here. So maybe the doom and gloom blanket statement of Toronto sports fan isn't correct. I think there's the Leafs, and a doom and gloom outlook on that is pretty reasonable at this point. Excuse me. But everybody else has given their fans something. Some level of enjoyment, some level of success. And I think for me, that this tops it for me. And again, if you're a bigger Raptors fan than you are a baseball fan, and you're rolling your eyes at me going, one of these teams won a championship and the other has only made it now to the championship round, that is a completely reasonable critique of my stance. It's more a reflection of my fandom, my sports priorities, the games I enjoy more. I'm not trying to say, in a general sense, in the history of Toronto sports, the Blue Jays making the World Series is bigger than the Raptors winning the NBA championship. It's not. But for me, as a fan, this feeling is about as good as it gets. And there are moments when you still sit back and you think about the Springer home run, or you think about Hoffman and how much doubt people have reasonably had of him and the job he came in and did. It's been, 10 hours since the game ended. I can still get goosebumps. I've been scrolling through Twitter, all the different camera angles and the different reaction shots to different parts of the game and the guys celebrating and stuff. It's bringing back goosebumps over and over and over. It's just so much fun to think about what just happened and what's ahead. So I don't think I will look too far ahead today at the Dodgers. We will get that done. The series doesn't start until Friday. We will find a time to sit down and preview what's to come. But man, you look back at the series that you just played and some of the names and some of the performances you got. You got 2 home runs out of Andrés Giménez. Nobody had that on their bingo card or whatever the expression is. How big was Ernie Clement in this series? Just attacking everything. And then in Game 7, all of a sudden, he's taking walks. Guy's known as being like the most aggressive hitter on the Jays lineup, like just swinging at everything and usually making solid contact. And all of a sudden, when you need a base runner, you just decide, that's fine, I'll just walk. Where did that come from? Kevin Gausman and Chris Bassitt in Game 7 specifically, in situations they're not used to. And look, the Gausman one, it wasn't his prettiest work, and maybe it was never going to be. But they kept it from getting away from you. There ended up being a little traffic on the bases for Gausman. Bassitt looked incredible coming in the 8th inning. I was like a lot of people who were sort of thinking, he's got some length to him. Maybe you just let him come back out for the 9th, and we don't tempt fate here with the Jeff Hoffman of it all. But those 2 guys, like I said, Ernie Clement, Andrés Giménez. Obviously, we're talking about George Springer and what he did, and the karma that comes from, I don't know if it's karma. I don't even know if I believe in karma. But I like that after what he's been playing through, after what happened to him out in Seattle, after the way some fans reacted to it, that he is the one who comes up with that huge swing. That's wild, and it's wildly deserved. Vladdy, what's left to say, has been a star through these playoffs. Has looked like the best hitter in baseball. Kirky's coming up with big moments. It was a Game 6 or Game 5, I can't remember now, where he scored from second. He's just shugging. He didn't know he was going to get the wave, and he's just giving her, and he gets there. The give a fuck is off the charts with this team, legging out every play. Giménez hit one deep into the hole, looked like it was going to be thrown out. He beats that one out on Monday night. All of these little things adding up. Barger takes a walk, which isn't exactly his forte either, which starts the rally. Saw a great stat just before I fired up this the studio here today. So the Blue Jays are now the only team, stick with me because this has got some levels to it, the only team to hit a 3-run home run in the 7th inning or later to eliminate a team now in all 4 rounds. I'll give you a second if you want to see if you can remember them. I'm sure you can. In the wild card against the Orioles, Edwin Encarnacion, beauty. Beauty. In an ALDS, you got Jose Bautista in Game 5 against the Texas Rangers. The bat flip pretty much wrapped that game up, didn't it? ALCS, you now have George Springer having done it in the 7th inning in Game 7 to finish off Seattle. And of course, the ultimate finishing off of a team, Joe Carter, 1993 in the World Series. I don't know if that stat means anything, but it's kind of fun. Mammoth home runs in the late innings of a deciding game that finishes off your opponent. I am just, I don't know. I've been talking for however long I've been talking now, and it yet feels like I have no words about how cool that was. Like I said, Bieber, when we started that game, yeah, what's going on, buddy? Didn't really look like he had his best stuff. And by the time they end up going to the bullpen to Louis Varland, speaking of names I should have mentioned there, guys who were being underappreciated, dude pitched in 6 to 7 games. That guy gets the rest of the week off. Don't ask him to show up to the workouts. You use the hell out of him. And it made sense. I get it. You didn't want to go to Gausman with men on. You want Gausman coming in a situation like that to have a clean inning. And it wasn't always smooth sailing for Varland through this series and through the playoffs. But he gave you crucial outs in huge moments. But when they pull Bieber for Varland, you're kind of, I'm already seeing people on Twitter talking in the past tense. The season's over. 2 out of his 3 starts in the playoffs weren't great. You know, that's a tough look on the guy you got at the deadline. And it's still accurate. 2 out of his 3 starts he's had so far haven't been all that impressive in the playoffs. But we weren't done. He's going to get a chance to redeem himself. And I should say, despite him not having his best stuff, like I mentioned a little earlier on in the show, the pitching staff did enough to not let it get away. Like even the solo shot to Cal Rowley, you're only going to keep him down for so long. There wasn't traffic. There wasn't men on. So it limits the damage. Just keep it close. Everybody's been talking about this team as a contact team and a small ball team. And that's reasonable enough. They can do that. They are a contact team. But they can hit the fuck out of the ball. They've got enough power in the lineup to make that happen as well. So that one strike is enough. And I mean strike is in when the offense strikes. It wasn't a great choice of words when talking about baseball. But this year in the playoffs, they're out-slugging the rest of the league by like 100 points in that stat. So while they are doing the small ball things they need to do, when your pitching staff keeps it close, keeps it in reach, then you allow for a single here, a walk there, and then a wham! Home run. Not only have you tied the game, you have taken the lead, you are in control, you have demoralized your opponent, you have given energy back to your stadium, energy back to your dugout, and they didn't really get into trouble again. I mentioned Bassett in the 8th inning. It wasn't just that he got through it without giving up any runs. He mowed down 3 guys in a row, which means in the 9th, when you go to Hoffman, it's 8, 9, and 1 in their lineup. You know, you give up a single or a walk and whatever else if you're out there for Bassett in the 8th, and all of a sudden, the top of the 9th is Julio, Rowley again, and Naylor. And maybe you still get through it. Hoffman looked good last night. But better that you didn't have to. Again, 8, 9, the bottom of that Seattle lineup wasn't given them much all series long. So that was huge. Just so many performances in Game 7 and through the whole series. But while we're talking about Shane Bieber not having his best stuff, not having his best game, he kept it close enough for that Springer home run to matter. So, just so much fun. The Toronto Blue Jays are going to the World Series. It's been a few minutes since I said it. You should say it again, too, to whoever you're sitting around with. Make sure they don't forget. And tell them to tell a friend. In case anybody doesn't know. It's my mission to make sure everybody knows. That's probably enough. It was fun to come in here and just put it in context of what level this is at for me. And I get the feeling I'm far from alone in that. And we've talked about it for months now, that there's just something about baseball that gives you this feeling when it goes well. It's the everyday nature. It's that it's part of your routine. The Jays are going to be with you every day if you're a hardcore Blue Jays fan, from like March to now, possibly November. And so when you succeed, it feels like a huge part of your world. This thing that's been with you all summer is going well. It's doing good things, and it's giving you good feelings. Only one team every year gets to end with that feeling. And this year, you've got a shot for it to be you. But for now, you've created another huge moment in Toronto sports history, in Canadian sports history. I got to tell you, I was trying to get through this talking only good things. And this is a good thing for me. But to some of you, you're not going to love it. I loved that Vladimir Guerrero showed up in an Austin Matthews jersey. And I saw the exact same 3 jokes repeated ad nauseum in the replies, in the quote tweets. Has he never seen a Leafs game 7? Ha. I get why people think it's not unreasonable to go, the Toronto Maple Leafs are not exactly a pillar of Game 7 success. But it just bugs me that, and I don't know why this is, but I don't think, maybe it's just because I read the replies too often and other people don't. But it's okay if someone has already made the joke you were going to make to not make it. But maybe you didn't go in and read them, and that's fine. But it's just like, biggest Game 7 joke artist in whatever, that's what you want to wear tonight? Said 70 times in almost the exact same way. Like, what was the point of posting that? What was the point of being the 34th person to post that? 34. Happy coincidence. I loved it because Vladdy had said the night before, we do it all for this city. We want it for this city. The hashtag they've been using, I want it all for this city. So, on the way in the next day, I'm repping the city. And on a certain level, I was like, lean into it. If there is a curse on the Leafs or on Toronto sports, it's not going to affect Vladdy the way he's playing right now. Maybe he was just making it harder on himself. I need a challenge. This isn't even difficult. I know, I'm going to wrap myself in Toronto Maple Leaf stink, and I'm going to go succeed anyway. And that's what he did. So I loved that he wore the jersey, and frankly, I loved how much so many people hated it. I loved that. I often love that. There's a spiteful part of me that takes up a little too much room in my personality. But if there's something that I like and it bugs a lot of other people, I like it even more. Again, it's not a positive personality trait, but it is a part of me, and you have to own that. So he shows up, he's wearing the jersey, wins Game 7. And maybe the power of Vladdy in that jersey will be enough to shatter the curse for the Leafs too, and not just for Toronto sports, not just for the Blue Jays. Maybe his aura, his energy will carry over. Probably not, but I enjoyed the hell out of that as well. So just another fun part of the evening. And for all the people who said, that's going to cost you, game over, how'd it go? How'd it go? Okay. That's enough. This is going to be a fun couple of days, and then it's right back to the intensity of sitting through difficult baseball games against a very good opponent. But if you're going to win a World Series, you're going to have to beat good opponents along the way. You already beat the Yankees. You already beat the second best team in the AL in the Mariners. Go slay the goddamn dragon. The final boss is the LA Dodgers. It will not be easy. It will be at times frustrating and difficult to watch. It may birth a rage pod if something goes wrong enough. And I should say, again, it's too much fun talking about this. John Schneider masterclass. All those guys I mentioned, the pitching side, the lineup, everything that went into it, redemption for him. He was very good in Game 7 in terms of how he set that up. And nobody can take that away from him now. And more importantly, no one's going to talk about Game 5 almost ever again. It doesn't matter. It's a non-factor. As I said after that Game 5 when I did the Rage pod, if the Jays had gone down in 6 or 7, that was going to be your winter in terms of baseball talk. The lasting memory, the reason they blew it and went down, John Schneider talk all the time. I don't think he was ever getting fired for it, though there were many people calling for that. But that was going to be the conversation all winter, and it was going to suck. It was going to be horribly irritating, and it was going to be horribly negative. And until stories started popping up in spring training, that's what we were going to be talking about. We're not talking about it anymore. Even if the Jays can't beat the Dodgers, you're talking about that remarkable Game 7. You're talking about the fact that you went to the World Series. You're talking about what either went well or poorly in the World Series. We're done with John Schneider and Brendan Little, which is fantastic. And John Schneider had a great Game 7 and deserves credit for that as well. So, okay, for real, we're done. Back later this week with more on something. Got one iron in the fire, but I've been burned here a couple of times in the last few weeks by announcing it and then having it fall through. So I'm not doing that yet until I'm sure. That would be for Thursday or potentially Friday morning. And I will also endeavor, this is all pretty new. We didn't know what the week was going to look like on the baseball side. I will reach out to some of our Blue Jays friends, see if anybody wants to come on and has the time to come on and tee up the World Series. Which begins, like I said, on Friday night in Toronto against the Dodgers. So stay tuned for that and whatever else is to come. My name is Matt Robinson. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. The Toronto Blue Jays are going to the World Series.
Here comes the 3-2. He got him! Toronto Blue Jays are going to the World Series.